Hi everyone and welcome to the All Things ITSM Global podcast. We're coming to you from FUSION15 in New Orleans. I'm Kirstie Magowan, I'm here with Hatt Hooper.
Hi Kirstie.
Carlos Casanova.
Hello Kirstie.
And now we're going to chat with Jason Stonehouse from Akamai. Hi Jason.
Hi, how are you?
Very well, thank you.
Hey Jason, so we go back actually quite a few years with New England League from itSMF and stuff, and I know you kind of took that over. There's been a lot of new stuff kind of going on.
Yeah.
Can you kind of speak, kind of bring us up to speed on what's been going on lately and your involvement in that?
Sure. So itSMF USA has seen a substantial change in the last few years in terms of how the organization is structuring it. And the Boston League has now become kind of one of those cornerstones of the evolution of the organization. What we've seen is a shift from the focus of the large, big events, the events that have 50, 100, 200 people, to much more smaller and focused, practitioner-focused events. Get people together to actually just have collaborative conversations. We've seen a lot of that driving out of the New England area with the Boston League. There's a number of other leagues that have started to do that as well. And now they're rolling out communities of interest, taking the SIG level and turning it into a much lighter, more agile framework for a very fast, responsive, spin them up, spin them down, get conversations going quickly.
Cool.
That's great. It's a big difference in what we've seen in itSMF, coming from Boston originally and, being a member there for many years. It seemed it lost its, itSMF has lost its way a little bit, the value, what the sessions were about. We were getting a lot more of the same presentations, and it was more being talked to the audience. And I think what you hit on is something we've seen as a dynamic that's happened across the industry is, the smartest person in the room is the room.
Yeah, exactly.
People have experiences and people are learning and they're seeing what is really pragmatic and what's working, and it's those conversations that need to happen, and it's exciting to see. We trialed Malcolm Fry and I trialed an unconference back in I think it was in Nashville, and it actually went off really well. Just having more interaction, more conversation seems to definitely get people interested and show more membership value.
Yeah, you really just hit on it right there in terms of the smartest people in the room being the room itself.
Yeah.
When we saw a lot of the more traditional events, the speaker would come in, give the usual 45-minute PowerPoint presentation. Everybody would have their laptop open. You'd know they'd be checking their email. They'd be looking for, what's the project, what's the status of the project that I'm working on. They weren't getting value out of the room. Now, when you actually have these things where you have 2 or 3 people that are just going to kick off a conversation, but that conversation is driven by the room and it steers by the room, you have no idea where the conversation's going to go. Kind of like how these work, but in an audience with 20, 30 people in it. And you can actually make these connections, and the connections are the things that really drive the value. We hear people that make a cross-pollination between the high-tech industry, which we've got a big presence for in the Boston area, higher ed, even the healthcare industry. You see a lot of cross-pollination and idea sharing that goes on between those that wouldn't normally happen, and that's where we think we actually are going to see the most member value coming out of it.
Yeah, I know even a few years ago, when Matt, you were talking about the Malcolm piece, we've spoken about this on a few occasions where, especially in our role, we're in and out of clients and whatnot. The facilitated session, I, as a facilitator, am going to learn far more. Just the standard speaking at someone, it's not really that exciting for me anymore. And when it's not exciting for me as a presenter, it comes through. It comes through in the presentation. So I think the facilitated sessions, if you can get into that, where you get that that input and that vibe from the other folks, and like you said, it can take you in a certain direction. It may not, but it's going to have that more think tank kind of discussion. Where you're going to, I think, drive a lot more value and really come across things that you might have not really planned accordingly.
Yeah, I think you really nailed it in terms of it's not just the value for the members that are in the room. It's for the people that we have that come in.
Right.
For everybody that is in a consulting role where you're going out, you're traveling, or where you're going around on the conference circuit and doing a lot of presentations. There's only so many times you can talk to the same PowerPoint deck, and honestly, you need a place for new ideas, and you need something to draw from. And the conversation that you're going to hear in the room when you have higher ed institutions that are talking about how they're trying to revamp their organization, and you hear somebody say, actually I'm going through those same struggles with this biotech company that I'm working on. You realize also that the people that you hear speaking at these conferences, they're not perfect.
Right.
And you get this understanding that everybody's facing the same struggles. There's shrinking budgets, there's shrinking headcount, But the way that you're going to actually be able to succeed is finding somebody else who's maybe not completely moved the needle, but they've started to get the needle moving, get a few more people behind that idea and push it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and, you know, Matt and I, we go back a few years, you know, and I mean, the best discussions, you know, we've had were when we, you know, we meet for a coffee on a Tuesday afternoon and say, hey, you know, I'm sitting around, you know, like what, and then next thing you know, we're into solutioning something that, you know, one of us ran across with a client or whatnot. And I think that's really where our industry needs to kind of go more. I mean, for me personally, I mean, that's where I would like to, you know.
Yeah, those conversations are just so important.
Yeah.
You get a lot more often out of those casual meetups than you do out of sitting listening.
And if you have that
nearly
openness,
always than sitting listening to a
and if they're
PowerPoint
open and you can
presentation.
trust that organization, you can talk about failures. Like my presentation tomorrow is the art of failure. It's about a lot of mistakes I've made and other people have made, and that's we don't hear that enough, right? We don't hear enough about, because everyone's talking about all the successes they had and everything they did right and how they planned it. But the reality is like, okay, well, I did that too, but it didn't work out for me. Well, what are the things you did wrong? Maybe I'm doing those things wrong.
Exactly. You learn so much more from what went wrong than you
It's like
get
I
from
did
what went
this
right.
based on these situations. So if you have these same situations, this may not be, I may not have the answer for you, but you know what? If this is the scenario that you're in, trust me, I tried 1, 2, and 3. Those didn't work.
At least you're
hey,
aware
if you hit number 4 and you get it right, let me know because
Yeah.
I'm still trying to figure it out. But I think but you're right. I think it's the trust thing. You know, that's I think the key is, you know, I mean, you guys know, it's like, you know, I'll tell you, it's like, no, this didn't work, or and I'm not, you know, hard line on this and that, and I know sometimes people kind of expect that, but I think that. So how do you enable that environment? You know, that people feel comfortable coming in and kind of, you know, disrobing.
It's a challenge, but one of the things that we actually look at doing is when we get people into the room, we tell them, look, this is going to be an open conversation, and what I usually do is, my company at Akamai, we actually do a lot of teaching from our own failures, from our own mistakes. You see that modeled in our incident review meetings, and you see that modeled in the types of conversations we have with our customers, where when we say, yeah, you know what, we made a mistake, we learn from it. But being able to publicly acknowledge that, and I'll usually lead off the conversation with, all right, well, you know, today we're going to be talking about, pick whatever topic that you've got, and I'll find an example from our own company history where, yeah, we made that mistake. And the moment somebody opens the door and says, here's this big mistake that we made, but here's how we learned from it, we haven't completely fixed it yet, but we've gone ahead and figured out, all right, we need to have this person in the room as well, and when you're going to go down that path, don't go here, because that's where you're going to get burned.
I mean, failures really are, they're learning opportunities. If you don't learn from your failures, then
that's the big problem.
That's the big failure, is not learning.
And repeating them and being very efficient at failing the same way off.
Exactly.
That's not the efficiency.
You fail once at the same thing, don't do it twice.
We follow a lot of the methodology of that you see in a lot of DevOps and Agile shops, where it's fail fast, fail often.
I was just going to say, if you're going to do it, you know what, you don't want to, I mean, I've told clients, okay, look, I get it. You feel the need that you have to go down. Go full speed. Just go as fast as you possibly can, throw everything at it, and then take a breath, and then we can talk again. You know, but you have sometimes you have to fail.
They have to try.
They
have to try.
So what can members do to add more value to the local interest groups, and how can you increase the membership that's there so there's more conversation and more inputs?
It's a great question. So one of the things that we're looking at doing to try and actually increase the participation of our members is get questions from people of what are the things that what are the problems that they're facing. Because one of the things that we've seen traditionally in how leagues have been operated is it's a very top-down approach of, here's the presentation of this month, here's the presentation of the next month. None of that really drives value, because people aren't going to come to a presentation that doesn't interest them. But what we're trying to do is say, all right, well, tell us what the problems that you have are. Come in with 5 questions, and you'll leave with 5 different answers. And you'll leave with 50 different answers, because you'll have enough conversations in the room. So we're starting to have some collaboration around that.
And you can try the answers that fit your
Exactly.
situation. I mean, we're actually struggling with exactly the same thing in New Zealand. I mean, a lot further south. And,
just a little. You're in Southie.
A little bit further south. But we're actually doing the same things. We're changing the format of our itSMF meetings to discussion sessions, to networking, sit down and talk about the issues that are facing you at the moment and how you're getting through them.
Yeah, I mean, we've all been in there when, there's the roundtable discussions. Those, that's sort of that first step towards that. Where I mean, I find that those are generally far more educational on the receiving end than that, and I think it's really facilitating that to a broader audience. And not having just the 5 at the roundtable
Yeah.
discussion, which I think is a great step. But starting to include that that broader group. So
Yeah,
that's great.
and it really blurs the lines between the networking part and the information sharing, because you get all of that together in one place.
Yep, exactly.
Jason, thank you for your work in promoting it in the Boston area. It needs it. And for being social too. You're very social, and that helps too. It keeps people,
does.
lets people see that engagement continues on and in between these meetings as well too.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you
Thank you very
much.
much,
It's been a
Jason.
pleasure
Thank
chatting
you.
with you,
Thank you.
Jason.
Pleasure.